I get the opportunity and privilege to speak to a lot of different audiences in the context of my job here in North Carolina. I can honestly say that's the first and only time I will probably ever be preceded by the Prince of Monaco on any stage that I'll be lucky enough to get. A few years ago, right after college, I was traveling as a backpacker, a shoestring budget traveler in the south of France along the Riviera, and decided to go check out Monaco for about 90 minutes. That's all I had at the very tail end of the trip, and I wanted to check one more country off of the list. So I took the second to last train from Nice into Monaco and walked around, tried to get into the casino because, of course, that's so famous with the James Bond movies and everything like that. It was one of those things I thought, well, I'm in the neighborhood, I may as well do it anyway. But being a shoestring budget traveler as I was at the time, I was dressed in shorts and a t-shirt, and as you all know, if you've been there, they have a very strict dress code, and they did not let this person in at the time. But next time I'm in Monaco, I will say that Prince Albert and I were buddies. We're on the same stage together, and hopefully that's enough to get me in. And I won't tell if you won't in terms of us really being on the stage together. But I do appreciate the chance to address you all today. Welcome to North Carolina. Welcome to Wilmington. For those of you watching at home, we hope you find that apart from the warm hospitality and beautiful weather, you find this conference as productive as everyone else who's attending it here in person. So it's my privilege today to just offer a few comments in the context of North Carolina and why this sector offers so much promise to us as an emerging industry for our economy. A few years ago, I was attending another conference in Washington, D.C., and I was doing some sightseeing on Sunday afternoon, and I went to the Smithsonian Museum, I think of natural history or whichever one it was that focuses a lot on biological species. And they had a great video there talking about the ocean and all the wonders within it. And the video that I happened to watch at the time talked about a phenomenon in the ocean called a whale fall. Those of you who are experts in this field, you know what the concept of a whale fall is. Those of you who, like me, did not at the time, it's when a whale dies in the middle of the ocean and the carcass slowly sinks to somewhere in that depth of 2,000 to 4,000 meters. So sort of below the level at which a lot of the natural scavengers might quickly consume the carcass, settles onto the ocean floor, and over time it becomes a harbor and a home for a very complex localized ecosystem of very diverse marine life that otherwise would not exist but for this serendipitous outcome of the whale carcass falling from the tops of the waters down to the depths of the ocean floor. And for me, being in the economic development field, it was not being a marine biologist or an expert in marine science whatsoever, it was a very pointed metaphor for what we're trying to accomplish when it comes to economic development. What we are trying to do in this field of economic development is attract those kinds of serendipitous outcomes, which, if successful, they can spawn a whole community of activity. In our case, spawning off a diverse array of economic activity that leads to companies being formed, to individuals having jobs, to households being supported with income, and all of those great things that happen when you have a great story or great phenomenon like a whale fall, an economic whale fall. And I think that's what the potential of something like the marine biotechnology industry really has to offer to states like North Carolina and regions like the one that we sit in today. And so it's with an open set of arms that we welcome all of you who are traveling here for the first time or for more than the first time to spend a little bit of time with your colleagues in this industry to learn more about your respective businesses, to learn more about what it's like to do business in this corner of the world, and hopefully to make a few more friendships and business relationships that will power you into the future. A little bit about my organization. As you heard, I represent a relatively new organization that's focused on economic development for the state of North Carolina. Among other things, we promote the state for tourism as well as for attraction of business. So if anything, we hope that you're having a wonderful time here in Wilmington if this is your first time visiting, and that you spend lots and lots of your money before you head back home to wherever you are. But even if that's just the first time, we hope that it creates a lasting impression for you. More importantly, for the context of why I'm here today, it's to talk a little bit about what makes sense and what the advantages are for North Carolina as a business location. You're sitting in a state that's a population of roughly 10 million, among the fastest growing states in the country. We're now 9th largest in the U.S. That's up from 10th largest in the U.S. as early as January of this year. We surpassed the state of Michigan to grow to be the 9th largest state, and it's an indicator of a trend that we see all across North Carolina in terms of growth and vibrancy that few states are able to talk about in those terms. We have a state gross product of roughly $490 billion, roughly actually on par, coincidentally, with the country of Norway, which I know is the host nation for BioMarine next year. So that gives you some sense of scope and scale as to the economy that is North Carolina's. And it's a very diverse economy that spans everything from agribusiness to manufacturing to financial services and, of course, to biotechnology, which, if you haven't heard enough times by this point in the conference, you haven't been listening, but it's a very important cornerstone of the state's innovation economy with, again, 600 companies, $74 billion in economic impact, and more than 60,000 people every day going to work in fields of biotechnology that are figuring out how to heal, feed, and fuel the world as we continue to grow on this big round globe of ours. But it's an important sector for us, and it's an important focus for North Carolina's economic development efforts. I'll spare you the entirety of the normal sales pitch, but I do want to highlight a couple of things that I think make North Carolina unique to whatever plans that you and your respective businesses have in mind, especially as you leave this conference energized for the next steps in your company's growth stories. Human capital. We can't emphasize enough how much human capital matters to an innovation-intensive industry like biotechnology. Certainly, the fields that you're all in, that is no exception at all. You need people who are capable of innovating, of ideating, and of creating. And I think here in North Carolina, that's absolutely one of those promises that we offer as a location, especially in our coastal communities as it relates to marine biotechnology. When it comes to human capital, you can grow it or you can go get it. And we do both here in North Carolina. Across a network of world-class universities producing graduates in the sciences and engineering disciplines, to our two-year community colleges, 58 campuses across the state that are generating a lot of the technical workforce that's necessary for employers across a variety of spectrums. We are growing that workforce organically among the products of our local universities and colleges all over the state. But we're also getting talent to come here into the state. As I said, we are one of the fastest growing states in this country, double the national growth rate, roughly 19%, I think, in the past decade alone, compared to a U.S. growth rate of about 9%. Here in Wilmington, the city of Wilmington has grown at least 25% in each of the past 3 decades, showing, again, part of that broader trend of growth. People wanting to come here to North Carolina, people wanting to put down their roots here, people wanting to build their businesses here. That is fundamentally at the heart of the story as to why North Carolina has had a successful economy and why it continues to be an attractive place for businesses to consider. I know those of you who are watching from home won't get to see it quite firsthand like those in attendance will, but rest assured, when you come to North Carolina, when you come to a place like Wilmington, it's pretty apparent why this state continues to be a popular place, not just to live, but also to do business. But with that population growth, with the 3rd largest in-migration rate in the country, not only are we growing the talent necessary for the next generation of companies and industries, but we're also attracting people here. When you start a business or when you grow your business in North Carolina, it's an easy sell to convince your future and prospective employees to come join you, to come join your mission, and to also live in as great of a place as we are privileged to live in every day in this state. Global thinking, that's also something that's necessary. The products and technologies that your companies are developing or investing in, they really do have the opportunity to harness all the resources of the ocean and turn them into products that, again, can heal, feed, or power the world. And these are technologies that can be adopted not just domestically here in the U.S., but all across the world. And to be able to do that from a place in North Carolina that thinks globally, that thinks internationally, you're definitely in the right place here in Wilmington. Sitting here on the coast, it's always had an international flavor, but we also have one of the largest foreign trade zones in the country, an area that's dedicated especially to international trade and commerce. That's certainly something that speaks to the unique advantages here locally in the Wilmington market. Foreign direct investment, many of you representing international companies looking at where you grow next. North Carolina is a powerhouse when it comes to attracting foreign direct investment. Companies like Germany, Japan, Canada, France, the United Kingdom, all employ more than 200,000 people every day across this state going to work for companies whose ownership is ultimately somewhere else around the globe. So this is a state and this is a region that understands the power of global trade and commerce and the power of global thinking. And I think that is the type of place that you want to also consider as you look for future homes for the businesses you run or the businesses that you choose to invest in. A statewide biotech community that has few, if any, peers. And again, you heard the stats already about what the power is behind North Carolina's biotechnology story. It's not just the companies that have chosen to set up and do business here, but it's also the great support and resources that you find with institutions like the North Carolina Biotech Center and the Marine Biotechnology Center of Innovation. These are dedicated, industry-specific state resources that are designed to help you navigate whatever issues, find whatever connections and partnerships, and help you resolve any situations you may need to resolve as you decide where to grow your business and where you go in the future. And again, that's going to be very unique, at least here in the United States, with respect to what you can find across states. And we're very blessed and very privileged to have those kinds of resources right here in North Carolina. The folks at the North Carolina Biotech Center, they're our partners every day as we try to grow this biotech industry cluster, and marine biotechnology, we hope, is the latest frontier for us to work together on growing a very innovative industry with a lot of potential for growth. And then lastly, you can't ignore the advantages of a fertile business climate. Wherever you choose to go in the world, wherever you choose to go in the United States, you want to make sure that it's a place that respects your ability to operate as a business, that allows you to keep as much as possible of what you can make so that you reinvest it in your innovation, you reinvest it in your employees, and you reinvest it in the growth of your business, not in taxes, not in unnecessary regulation, but in what matters most, which is the growth of the companies that you're trying to start or that you're trying to finance. And we've made a lot of positive steps here in North Carolina to continue ensuring that in addition to all of the natural beauty and wonderful quality of life that we have here in the state, it's also an excellent place in which to do business, where taxes are competitive, they're not unusually burdensome on businesses, and again, they allow companies to invest in what matters most, their employees and their own growth as companies. And we've done that. So whether that's individual income taxes, whether those are business and corporate income taxes, these are all things that North Carolina has taken positive steps to addressing to ensure that companies from both the United States and overseas can continue to find those fertile conditions for growing and expanding their businesses once they set up shop here in our state. So let me conclude with a small call to action. Again, I really appreciate the chance to address such a great group of individuals who happen to be here in town for this wonderful conference. The call to action is simple. If you are thinking about where your companies go next, or the companies that you're looking to align with, partner, or finance, as you're looking for that next important chapter in the growth of those companies, we do hope you'll at least pick up the phone, send us an email, or talk to any of us who represent Wilmington, who represent the southeast region of the state, who represent our coastal communities, or who represent the state of North Carolina. Any single one of us would be more than happy to help talk to your companies about what you have in mind for the next stages of growth for your businesses and how a solution here in North Carolina might be able to propel your companies to the next level. With that, I wish you all an excellent conference. I hope you really do forge a number of great relationships and partnerships and maybe even a few friendships that will help sustain your businesses in the years to come. Have a wonderful conference. Enjoy your time here in Wilmington. Again, spend lots of money here in our state. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. And I just want to thank each of our speakers this morning. We're going to have a short break. Following the break, there will be CEO interviews that will take place in this room, and then there will be an investment track discussion that will take place in an adjoining room here. Thank you.